Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you again today. I'm sorry to tell you, however, that Blog Talk Radio, the system that handles all our phone calls that can bring up to 50 calls in here, is currently down. It's interesting. When we log in, it says, "We are sorry, we cannot get to you right now." So all communication must occur. Hi, Pranav. Let's see. Welcome aboard, Deidre Scott. Welcome aboard, Pranav. Joshi, how you doing, my brother? We also have Marianne Tierno Lengoli. Welcome aboard. Michael Rudney, our regular researcher. Welcome aboard. Folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. The call-in number is not quite functional right now. So therefore, if you have anything that you want to send to me, please make sure to go ahead and do so on inside of the window or rather the Facebook page under the video. Please remember, the first thing I'd like you to do is to go ahead and share this program. Please share this program on your Facebook wall. Please share this program on your Facebook page. Please share on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Yellow Man. I always forget the Yellow Man name, and no matter what I do, I forget the Yellow Man's name. Anyhow, that is how we are going to make progress. That is how we get the progressive message out, because you sure know that the mainstream media is not going to be getting that progressive message out for you, because again, who are they under the control of? The corporatocracy. And anybody under the corporatocracy, whether they claim themselves to be progressives or whether they claim themselves to be otherwise, they must fall within the rails that the corporatocracy allows them to run. I've always said, Democratic Party, Republican Party, left rail, right rail, but the one thing that we all know is that they're going in the same direction. Yes, we have the fringes on the left, fringes on the right, specifically fringes on the right, doing particular things that we don't quite like. But I tell you, folks, the reality is the only solution right now is progressivity, progressiveness, the people who are putting out progressive values. And why is that an absolute fact? Because these are the values. These are the things that Americans want. These are the things Americans say they want. These are the things Americans want to do. Welcome aboard, William Bill McCloy, running for judge. Folks, remember, countywide, remember, when you go to vote, you vote all down the ticket. Make sure and support your judges. Make sure, and I'm going to go off, taking off my host hat right now. Support Democratic judges, because again, we are in dire straits right now with who's controlling the country and the values of those who are controlling the country. It is imperative. It is imperative. And this is not only this left-wing liberal saying this, even somebody as conservative as George Will, somebody as conservative as several other folks are telling you, go out there this year. Whether you're Republican, Democrat, or otherwise, this year you've got to vote Democratic. And why? To save your country from the... I don't want to get into hyperboles right now, but hyperbole is all we got. To save the confounded country, that is what you have to do this year, irrespective of your party affiliation or none thereof. It is imperative that you do so. It is imperative, again, that you do so. Folks, please do remember, this is a call-in show. This is a progressive show. The call-in is not quite functional today. Later on, I may go ahead and try to re-queue, but right now, it seems like their system is completely down, and you know all of this is electronic. So I'll hold off a while. Unfortunately, I don't have the screen that doesn't have the numbers. But by the way, you can also send, if you're just listening, you can just send me a tweet. And what I'll make sure to do is I'll be monitoring the Twitter account. Please do remember to hashtag Politics Done Right. The Twitter account is Egberto Willies. That's my Twitter handle, Egberto Willies. You want to reach us? It is Egberto Willies, Egberto. And what I'll do is I'll go set this baby up to go ahead and follow and make sure I can handle any tweets in real time. So again, I will be following. That's a wrong application. I will be following these tweets out there right now, my friends, because again, what is down? This is what happens every so often. This has nothing to do with politics done right. This has nothing to do. It just has something to do with they're having a failure out there. Okay, folks. So what is the subject today? The subject today is progressives and Democrats must be strategic if we are to win the 2018 election. And when I do the blog of the week, which I'm not going to just read in detail, but I'm going to kind of scan it for you, is talk to you about, first of all, we had a great what do you call it, call in for Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke, for those of you who are not here in Texas, Beto O'Rourke is the senator that is going to defeat Ted Cruz. He is the senator that will be defeating Ted Cruz. So we went ahead and we did some phone banking for him yesterday, and we had some good conversation. And I think I'm going to play you some of the conversation later on in the show, because there are a couple of them that I think is worthy of putting on here. We had one of our friends went ahead and make the tape of it. But anyhow, title of the show. Before we go any further, go ahead, folks. If you're just joining us, please go ahead and share this application right now. Okay, Bill has a message. William Bill McLeod. Remember that name, William Bill McLeod, because you got to do some heavy voting for judges out there. He says, early voting starts on, oops, it jumped up. Come on, let me get back down there. It jumped up. But anyway, I'll go ahead and advertise that again when early voting is, etc., when I go ahead and read some more messages. But early voting, I think he says, begins on October 22nd. But we don't need to wait for that. We need everybody to be registered to vote now. Everybody needs to register to vote now. And after they register to vote, they need to verify that, in fact, here in Texas and any other state, that you are on the records. Because they're going to try all kind of shenanigans to erase your name from the voter records. And then they're going to force you to fill out a provisional ballot. And when you come back to give evidence of your provisional ballot, they know most people are not going to come back twice, and they're going to just throw your ballots away. Okay? Let's remember that. There are many ways to steal an election. One is a sort of a quasi-legal way to do it, and that will be their intent. So, folks, make sure you're registered to vote, and not only register to vote, but make sure and check that, in fact, you are registered to vote. And we need to start that now. And for those who are VDVRs, voter registrars, it is important that you keep up the pressure. It is important that you go out there. Keeping Beto thinking about his positions. You must vote against the bad choice. Deidre Scott. Okay, folks, anyhow, subtitle. Infighting within the Democratic Party is unnecessary if we remember it is not about us, the individual Democrats or the party, but about the people we serve. Coexistence is easy. If we remember it is not about us, but the people or the individual or the party, but about the people we serve, coexistence become very easy. See, everybody is my friend. I don't care what part of the spectrum you are in this progressive movement, whether you want to abolish ICE or not. I don't care whether you want single payer or something a little bit less government single payer driven. I don't care what I know what I want as a progressive, and I am willing to fight for it. What I'm not willing to do is lose because some other person in my sphere, meaning another progressive, may have some other idea. We cannot do that. We cannot do that. We fight like hell now to go ahead and try to get the best as progressive as we can. And then we coalesce. We coalesce into winning, and not just winning by a squeak, but winning big. Because the changes that we have to get going forward needs a whole lot of more than 50 plus ones. 50 plus ones aren't very sticky. 50 plus ones are not very sticky. So we have a lot of work to do. We have to do it on all ends. We have to activate our base, meaning the people that are generally going to vote for us. But we also have to change minds. A lot of effort the party is putting is not into changing minds, and I can understand that. But every individual progressive has a sphere of influence. And your sphere of influence includes not only Democrats, not only progressives. Your sphere of influence also include Republicans, agnostics, every kind of folk. And by example, by tenor, by the way you carry yourself, by the way you talk to people, you can actually be a beacon that puts a seed in many of these folks' minds, so that when November comes around, if there are certain triggers that are there, those triggers are activated right there at voting time. You're not going to have a lot of people tell you stuff like this. Everybody wants you to just go ahead and find every single Democrat out of every corner. Find every single progressive out of every corner. Yeah, go do that. We have to do that. But we have to do more. And the more is what we don't stress very often. And it's something that I want to stress, because I want to tell you, if we're really going to make change in this country, it is going to be imperative also to change minds. There are a lot of people right now whose minds are completely screwed up. I know a lot of folks on the right think, oh, you guys on the left's minds are screwed up. The difference is that we are mathematically correct in the policies that we want. They are imaginarily correct on the policies they support. Because irrespective of all the damage their policies have done, irrespective of all the damage their policies are doing, they choose to look at it through a prism that fault something else. We are clear-eyed, mathematically speaking. And you know what I think? Math is everything. Math is everything. And if it if the results are mathematical, they're absolute. We must remember that. We must remember that we are right. And like I've always said, however, right is not good enough. It's definitely not good enough, but it takes work. Something that we don't normally do as progressives. I have to be honest. The right has the money to do a whole lot better, and they have that impetus to go out there and fight so much harder. I don't completely get it, because as a host, as a blogger, as an activist, I feel like I'm fighting all the damn time and not ever wanting to give up until we reach that goal. And I think more of us have to keep that in our heads and neither have a defeatist attitude when we lose a battle, or a depressive attitude when things are not really going the way we want it to go. We have to help each other with the depression that many are going to feel after this judge is installed in the Supreme Court. Because here's the thing, and I'm going to go into some news of the day in a minute. I am upset with many people that are including some of these activist groups out there that are giving people false hope. I want us to fight for supposedly not getting this next judge installed, because one, we know one of these judges was stolen from Obama, and secondly, we also know that these judges cleared the Federalist group, which means they do not support a woman's option to choose, and they're likely going to do whatever they can to weaken the Affordable Care Act. and they're going to likely weaken affirmative action and other civil rights issues that affect not only people of color, but women. So women, if you're out there, you are also considered a class. And don't dare believe that when these civil rights laws are messed with, that you're not going to be affected, and all the gains that you've made over the years are somehow not going to be affected. So I'm not going to be the alarmist like many would say, oh, it's the end of the world and this Supreme Court justice is going to come and destroy everything. It's not going to happen like that. It's going to be slow. It's not going to be like they're going to come and just overturn Roe v. Wade. No, it's not going to do that. They're going to weaken it into oblivion. In other words, every case that comes up from a state that would normally have been illegal will be made legal. So they won't just go ahead and get rid of that the Roe v. Wade decision. They will just weaken it so much that in effect it's ineffective. It's not there. The same thing will happen with civil rights. They're not just going to go out and say we'll just get rid of the VCA, the voter. They're not going to just get rid of that. It'll be slow, it'll be methodical, and it'll be done. And that is how you deconstruct liberalism, what made this country what it is today. Just like they can deconstruct portions from the executive, meaning what they're doing to the environment, meaning what they're doing to wages, meaning what they're doing to the unions, just like they can deconstruct it almost entirely from the executive, so can they do it from the judiciary. And that's what's taking place right now. It's the, when Trump and them used to talk about they want to deconstruct the state. This is what they're talking about. And it's not something that they just do one big law and say, oh, we're deconstructing, because they know it'll affect their people. Anyhow, let me go ahead and talk about what it is. It is important that we point out problems we all perceive within the Democratic Party or within progressive groups that fall out of scope with the tenets of the party or progressive values. What is essential, however, is differences that are all we are unified in our votes in November. Forget about our differences. In November, we must be unified. Period. Punto final. Got to be unified. This mistake is not being unified with our vote has already cost us 2 Supreme Court justices, a big chunk of the Affordable Care Act, much of environmental regulations, and much more. We made absolutely no point. Nobody, for all the Bernie busters, and by the way, I am still a proud Bernie Sanders supporter in the values that he attested, that he supports. Those are my values. The same values that you hear Bernie Sanders preached about. Those are the values of myself as well. When Hillary Clinton ultimately won, the next item that I had to do is mitigate that. And how did I do so? That is, I supported unabashedly. I supported unabashedly what would then be the Democratic ticket. These are decisions that one must make pragmatically for the betterment of the country as a whole. What we've done over and notice I've said what we've done, because it's all of us, by those of us who weren't forgiven enough, those of us who weren't able to really reach over to the other side of the progressive base, those of us that continue to hold grudges. You know, ultimately, both of us get hurt. I am always willing to give on the progressive side. We should all be willing to give on the progressive side and just keep fighting to bring those that we think need to be brought over. That is how you do it. But what you never do is you never turn over the wheel to somebody who's going to crash the entire bus. The bus is filled with right-wingers, Republicans, center Democrats, progressives, left-wing progressives, anarchists. The bus has everybody in it. Now, I would rather have, if Bernie couldn't have driven that bus, I would be very happy to have Hillary drive that bus. And the funny thing about it is, there's a deep chasm within my brain, because for all my Hillary supporting friends here in Kingwood and other places around the country who've been yearning for a woman to be president, my big dilemma, and I'm talking about baby boomer women who've been waiting for a president, waiting to show that I honestly understood. I honestly understood that. I understood exactly what that meant. I understood that many looked at that as the last chance for to see a woman. When I supported Bernie with the expectation and hope that he would be the one winning, I had to weigh those two. I chose the country, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, the country and the progressive values that I think would have done the country best under him than under Hillary. But there was also that feeling that I wanted that glass ceiling broken. It's a weird thing, but again, it's just how it is. So we all have to look at things in that stance. We all have to consider it is not about us. It's not about the individual. It's about the totality of what progressivism represents and what it would do or will do for people when instantiated. And we have to remember that. And if we can remember that, you don't have to get mad at anybody. I'm not mad at any Democrat, but the leadership. I am mad at the leadership because I think the leadership is beyond horrendous. But I mean, let me rant a little bit. I'm sorry. I think these are things people need to know. I think it's not blasphemous, but I think it is pathetic that over the years, we, because of some people wanting to be in power all of the times, we have not really built a strong Democratic bench, not only for the presidency, but senators in all the states and state senators and state. We don't really have a good known bench. And that is because nobody's going to, the young, smart folk are not going to get involved if they know all these people want to be in power in their 70s and 80s. There's no bench. What is a senator from California, Feinstein, still doing in office? What is Nancy Pelosi? Why hadn't she groomed a much younger person for her job? And this is not really anti what we're going to do in November. But this is things that I'm saying we have to be watching going forward. We don't have a bench of experience of people. I mean, they had a Paul Ryan, and I know he's leaving, but had things gone well for them, he would have stayed. And he's a young man. And they're appointing young judges to the Supreme Court. Where is our bench? Where is our forethought? Where are we not thinking of ourselves? And I'm not talking about rank and file Democrats, rank and file progressives. I'm talking about the leadership. Leadership should always be done in such a manner to replicate themselves. There are many groups that I participate in, and I make sure to participate mostly as a person I consider an older person. I am there in support. I am led by the younger people. Why? Because it is their time. It is their time. That is how things work. I am very happy to advise, and I'm very happy then, after advising, to be led by the young. But it takes a certain kind of character to realize that you don't have to be the leader all of the times. In fact, it takes also a leader to know when it's time to let someone else lead. And that has been a big failure of our party. You look at it and it looks old. The leadership looks old. When we have a lot of smart people, I work with activists that, anytime I run across an activist, like, hey, you're so smart, you're such a great speaker, you got to run. You got to run. But then we try to do it, and then we have the DCCC come in and try to bump those out. Anyhow, continue. Sorry for the rant, but I just had to get that out, and I hope other people, kind of understand where I'm coming from, because I think it is very important. Hi, Carol Weber. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Okay. Now, from Raw Story, guess what, folks? The Russian bots are back. One of the present-day agitprop campaigns linked to Putin's hacker squad is the walkaway hashtag. The Huffington Post reported over the weekend that this troll attack is a countermeasure against a potential blue wave coming this fall, with the walkaway hashtag intended to simulate real-world Democrats who have apparently chosen to leave the party due to its try not to laugh alleged intolerance and lack of civility. It's a ludicrous concept given the galactically more egregious incivility of Trump and his red hats, extending back at least 3 years and including a deadly terrorist attack in Charlottesville, among myriad of other examples. In any case, this hashtag has been connected to Russian bots. According to the Huffington Post, it has ranked as the third or fourth most popular Kremlin-linked hashtag for days, according to bot tracking by the Hamilton 68 site, run by the Bipartisan Alliance of Securing Democracy, which keeps tabs on Russian activity on the American internet. Arc Digital has made the same connection in the strikingly similar tweets, pushing a familiar narrative of democratic bullying, Arc Trace, and campaign for a Facebook group in May and subsequent tweets whose traffic suddenly began to explode late last month. As I write this, Hamilton 68 has ranked Walkaway as the most tweeted hashtag in the last 48 hours. To be clear, this isn't being circulated by earnest yet misguided voters who formerly identified as Democrats. This is clearly being circulated by trolls connected to the Russian influence operation. Walkaway has obvious roots in the 2016 primaries, when Russian trolls attempted to turn liberal left or left-wing voters against casting a general election ballot for the eventual Democratic nominee, either Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton, thus diminishing Democratic turnout. The same goal applies here. So the shenanigans have already begun. NBC News also reports, and this is very important, folks. I don't see this covered. I see a lot about the Supreme Court and all of that sort of stuff being covered now, but this stuff is materially explosive. What I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people haven't heard about it yet with the Affordable Care, but listen keenly, because this is going to affect you. And I'm going to tell you something else after I read it in detail. Anyway, the Trump administration is freezing payments that are part of an Obamacare program that protects insurance with sicker patients from financial losses, a move expected to add to premium increases next year. Not expected, it will add it. So NBC News, stop trying to be split into hairs here. At stake are billions in payments to insurers with sicker customers. The latest administration action could disrupt the Affordable Care Act, the health care law that has withstood President Trump's efforts to repeal it completely. In a weekend announcement, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services said the administration is acting because of conflicting court rulings in lawsuits filed by some smaller insurers that question whether they are being fairly treated under the program. The so-called risk adjustment program takes payments from insurers with healthier customers and redistributes that money to companies with sicker enrollees. Payments to for 2017 were $10.4 billion. No taxpayer subsidies are involved. The idea behind the program is to remove the financial incentive for insurers to cherry-pick healthy customers. The government uses a similar approach with Medicare private insurance plans and the Medicare prescription drug benefit. Major insurance groups said Saturday that the administration's action interferes with a program that's working well. The Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, whose members are a mainstay of the Affordable Care Act, said it was extremely disappointed with the administration's action. The Trump administration's move will significantly increase 2019 premiums for millions of individuals and small business owners and could result in far fewer health plan choices, Association President Scott Serrota said in a statement. It will undermine Americans' access to affordable coverage, particularly those who need medical care the most. Here is the kicker. And here's a very important kicker. Doesn't matter what they tell you. Pre-existing conditions, they can't write it out because it's the law. All the guys have to accept pre-existing conditions, people with pre-existing conditions, until they can get enough people to really sign out. That is the law of the land. But you can cripple it, right? And how do you cripple it? You cripple it by doing exactly what Trump just did. In other words, he's not going to pay the differential, the risk management that was placed in there to mitigate a particular insurance company somehow getting sicker patients. Gone, or supposedly gone. You know what is so funny about that, folks? And this is what I want you to tell your right-wing friends. This is what I want you to tell your friends in Appalachia. This is what I want you to tell your friends in coal country, in the heartland, like they want to call it, those folks who are voting for Donald Trump. That is, first of all, it's a tax, right? Because Donald Trump is doing some backdoor ways to recover some of the taxes that he gave to the wealthy. And he's doing this backdoor tax rebate to them, to the government, by taxing the poorest of the poor, the middle class, etc. And let me explain that to you because it's going to go into the other topic as well. What Trump is doing is saying, okay, I've just saved $10 billion. Another $10 billion I don't have to pay out to these insurance companies. And that's more money in the coffers of the United States to pay some of what was done in the healthcare bill, or rather in the tax scam bill. So he just got back $10 billion or so by not paying that money to the insurance companies, and he's using the pretext that, oh, folks are suing. Look, it's a lie. But here's a kicker. The people that are going to be hurt the most are the people who need health insurance under the Affordable Care Act. And those are people with minimal jobs. Those are people with jobs that don't have insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Who are those people? Those people are Trump voters. So the government is entirely in control by Republicans. And now what they've decided to do is take away insurance coverage for their people. But guess what else is endemic in Appalachia and these other places? More disease than in, let's say, Houston or these other towns, other cities. More disease, more diabetes, more opioid addictions, more of all these things that people are going to require good coverage for. So it's gone. And what's going to happen? These people are going to pay more, but it's even a bigger tax increase. Let me tell you why. Guess what happens? When a lot of folks in Trump land are subsidized on the Affordable Care Act. Okay? What that means is if those prices go sky high, yes, for those people who are paying $20 or $30 or $50 a month, if the price goes up by 50%, they'll pay $75 a month. Okay, so it's $25 increase. They can say, okay, I'll drop me to a trip to McDonald's with my family. That takes care of the increase. All right? But then the government is the one who's going to pay the several $1,000s a year for that person, that increase in wages. So what has happened now? The government is going to pick up that the government saved all that money, that $10 billion. Some of it will be going back to pay for the subsidies that they're charging the insurance companies increase in price. So who is it that walks away with the money? It's another transfer of wealth, right? That $10 billion, a big portion of that is just nothing more than a transfer of wealth. I take it and I give it back to the rich folk. It is so important that folks understand what's going on. And those of you who are in Appalachia, those of you who are have been voting for this man in coal country, etc., he is actually royally screwing you. But here's another thing that he's doing. The tariffs. Oh my God. The tariffs make America great again. We're not going to let China take advantage of us. We're not going to let good old Canada take advantage of us. So all these things coming from these countries are going to be tariffed. You know what tariff is? Here's how a tariff works, right? I am going to go ahead and import 1,000 plastic bowls. those 1,000 plastic bowls come in, and normally I would go to Walmart and I'll buy those bowls for, let's say, $9. Okay? Those plastic bowls now are no longer $9. Those plastic bowls, and you know who shops and buy all these trinkets from China, it's not the rich people whose main source of products is China. It's the cheap stuff that comes from China. You know, we like cheap stuff. So all the average middle class folk and the poor folks, they go to China to shop. So those prices are going to go up. So that $9 bowl is maybe going to be $10, $11 depending on the tariff on that bowl now. And guess what? It's not Walmart who gets that $2. It's not in the Walmart. It's Donald Trump who gets that $2. The government that gets that $2. It's a tariff. It's a tax. So it's a way of saying the following. I went ahead and gave that huge tax cut to those rich Americans, those wealthy folk. And then I start claiming trade war, and start collecting taxes on everything you buy. All the things you buy from China, all the things you buy from Canada, all the things you buy from Europe. I'm going to start charging taxes on those things. It's called a tariff. But the money doesn't go to Walmart. The money goes to the government. And when the money goes to the government, it goes into the government's coffers, right? Oh, why not just give that money back to the American middle class who paid the tariffs on it? Why not give that money back if you were honest? When the Americans buy that car that has a whole lot of aluminum in it and have to pay another several $1,000s more for that car, after the government collect that tax, why don't you give the American people a rebate? The middle class folks who spent that money, why don't you give them a rebate? Why don't you create an item on your tax return so that they can get that money right back, make it a tariff neutral transaction? You see, here's the kicker, folk. There are ways to do it, right? So we can change the tax laws. We can change the 1040 form so that if you went and bought a car, that the price increase in that car gives you a tax rebate. That everybody who buys and continue to buy from, and that way it's not a tax on people. China would still get the message because they still have to pay the tariff, or rather, but give it back. But they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. People will say, oh, well, if you do that, people won't start buying less, which will cause China to, not. Well, no. Actually, people will start buying less of the things that are more expensive because they don't think about the tax rebate they're going to get. But what I'm saying is, if you guys really believe that taxes bring down the economy, then tax cuts, which would be giving back the taxes from the tariff, giving it back to the people. Hey, guess that would do? That would put some more money into the economy, into people who are going to spend that money. They're going to buy more stuff at McDonald's. They're going to buy more stuff at Walmart. They're going to buy more stuff in the stores. Economy stays going again. But you're not going to do that. You know why you're not going to do that? Because it's a backdoor way to take back the taxes that you gave to the middle class, to the wealthy. And now you're going to pay for that. You, Trump supporter, you're paying for that. All of you guys, you are paying for that. So in the increase in healthcare costs, you are paying for that tax cut. In the increase in the products that you buy because of the tariffs, you are paying for that tax cut. Look, you don't hear them making a huge stink about this on the national news. Yes, they do sometimes. But most of the times, they just say it in passing. They let it slide. And end of story. What we do at Politics Done Right, folks, is to tell you the way it is and actually attempt to open all our minds so that they cannot continue to pull this stuff pull the wool over our heads, because that is what they do. All of these are backdoor ways to bilk the middle class for that big, huge tax cut that they give to the wealthy. And then what they do to you is they create stories. Oh, the trade war, or rather, they're taking advantage of us. Oh, you know what? You have to ask yourself, why did big bad America sign the kind of trade rules and accept the tariffs that China has on certain things or whatever? They made a deal. Don't sit down there and think America is so innocent about it. No, they made a deal. A lot of American companies are international conglomerates that build stuff overseas. And when it's imported, they don't want a lot of tax on the things that Americans are building overseas when it comes over here from China. They don't want that. So don't believe the crap about somehow China taking advantage of us or somehow Canada or anybody else taking advantage of us. Nobody takes advantage of America. They have never, ever taken advantage of America. Now, individual businesses make deals that screw Americans, but it's not the other countries that are able to do so. It is the deals that American corporations want for their own benefit. Don't forget it. Don't sit down and think somehow these other countries took advantage of big bad America. They just take advantage. Nobody can take advantage of America. Nobody. What happens is corporations force politicians to make deals that benefit specific corporations, and that's what they do. Please, we can't buy into the crap. One of the reasons you have Politics Done Right and you have other programs of this nature is because we know you cannot get this information on the mainstream media. So what I want to take a few minutes here real quickly before I get back into the program is ask you to please support us. Be subscribers. Support truth. Support the reality that is out there. Please go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right. Patreon.com/politics done right. patreon.com/politics done right. Support programming that isn't going to take you for a fool. Support programming that does not undermine your intelligence. Support programming that is going to tell you things the way they are. The way that the mainstream media simply cannot. If you're subsidized by the drug companies who rip you off, who change one ingredient, change a patent and own, again, another 20 years or so of that patent to milk your money. They're not going to tell you that on mainstream media. They're not. We are going to tell you that on Politics Done Right and on several others. So please go to patreon.com/politics done right. If you're watching it on Facebook, guess what? You can actually click on the link directly from Facebook. You can go ahead and do that even while you watch the show. Because, folks, it is so important that we are able to continue this. And by the way, we are going to New Orleans in the first week of August. And we already have our spot on Radio Row. So we will be bringing to you live Netroots Nation. Of course, you know Netroots Nation is that place where all the progressive bloggers go every year. And not only that, but all the politicians, all the progressive politicians and those who want to act as progressives, they're going to be right out there and we'll pull them out. So, folks, please support Politics Done Right. Patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right. It is imperative that we hear from you. It is imperative that we keep this type of media on, not just until the election. Yes, we're going to interview a whole lot of politicians, progressives, etc., and some other folks as well. But we need you so badly. The other side are awashed in money from the corporations, or awashed in money from the Koch brothers, or awashed in money from the billionaires. Yes, they are. There's reason for them to do that. But it is imperative that we also find a way to support our own. And why is that? I tell you what, personally, I support many of our progressive rags because it is a necessity. I know the importance. I support dailycoast.com, the biggest liberal site on the planet. I support opednews.com, another liberal site. I support democraticunderground.com, another progressive site. I support coffeepartyusa.com, a moderate site, a site that sees all sides. And I think it is important that you have a site like coffeepartyusa.com that brings people together of all spectrums. I also support kpft.org, which is at our state, our mother station, if you will, the Pacifica Network. It is so important that we keep these voices on air. It is so important that we are there, those of us who have the ability, funded by you, to tell you the truth. And as usual, you know, this is a bi-directional program. What that means is that there's interactivity with the program. You cannot call into MSNBC, CBS, ABC and have your point of view. Well, today is the one day that we don't, our phone system, not on our part, electronic, is down. But you can always come in and make your piece. And of course, you can always send email to info@politicsdoneright.com. I answer them all. Of course, the messages that you put under the video, under the show, I also answer those that require answering. I read them all as best as I can. Every now and then it's overwhelming, but I do the best that I can. You can reach us. You can get your values on air. That is what we're here for. Patreon.com/politics done right. Patreon.com/politics done right. Generally, that phone number that you see on the screen is what you would normally call. What I'm going to try to do now is I am going to try to get to you guys. As it turns out, the blog of the week I am not going to read because I got into my ranting. Forgive me. You know, like I said, this is a live show, and sometimes the spirit takes you somewhere else that you think when there are other things that you think you have to get into the space, and that's what I did. But the blog of the week is there for you to click on the link and look at. I'll be please go ahead and do it. Specifically, what the blog of the week was we had a great phone banking yesterday for Beto O'Rourke, a Texas person running for Senate. It was very rewarding to go there, and most importantly was the conversations that we had. And I have video of the conversations that we had, courtesy of Patricia Ruddock, who did some taping. I want to thank her for doing that because she got the most important parts of it. Anyhow, let me go ahead and read some of your comments. Very important. You know, you guys are what make this show. I mean that from the depths of my heart. And that is, without you, there's no show. And what I find is I have some of the most intelligent, most persuasive, most thinking people who watch this program, who comment on this program, whether they do it live or through podcasts, who send me emails on this program. I thank you so kindly, because I tell you what, we are the soldiers that are going to have to go out there and get the job done. It's not going to be the party pushing things. It's not going to be any of these entities. It's going to be you. It has to be us individually. It has to be us who get it from the gut and say, I'm going to just step out and go do it. And you don't have to have me or anybody else telling you what to do. You know what to do. You know what our values are. You know how to talk to people. Okay. Let's see. Let's start. I want to make sure not to go. I always go in the wrong direction. I have a better app now that is able to read this stuff. So I'm happy. Anyhow, here we go. Michael Redden reminds me of how progressives lose elections. I see the thing on your thing. I have to read that later. Mary Ann Tierno Langel. If only everyone would remember the divisiveness is being promoted by Russian bots and Facebook and Twitter. You are so correct, Mary. There are certain things that I wonder about. It's like when certain fights occur between progressives, sometimes I think it is so silly. I have to sit back and say, a Russian bot must have started that. I am with you. Anyhow, Pravaj Pradanav Joshi, my buddy from Indivisible. Welcome aboard, my brother. Deidre Scott, welcome aboard. Let's see, who else? William Bill McLeod, of course. William is one of our supporters. Love you, Senor Bill McLeod. He understands that we have to win. He understands that we have to invest in winning, that it's not going to just come by osmosis. He understands that it's going to happen if we put the work out there. And I don't know any politician working harder, not only to elect himself, but to elect others. People are going to be able to help him on progressive issues around this county, around this state. I mean, if we could simply, I'm telling you folks, if we could simply have hundreds of William Bill McLeods around, think about how much we could accomplish, because people wouldn't be sitting on their asses waiting for things to happen. They would be out there making things happen. So that is my kudos for El Señor McLeod out there. Let's see, Michael Rudnin. Speaking of left and right rails, Joy retweeted her support for the 60 progressive Democrats running this election cycle not too long ago. Joy said, all candidates raise money from corporate donors. Well, you know something? I don't mind anybody changing their minds and saying, I've learned, I've changed my mind. I've learned. And, when I change my mind and learn, I don't feel guilty for having learned. I don't feel guilty because I learned. That's how we move forward. I agree. Vote Democrat all the way down the ticket. Absolutely, Bill. Okay. Got your card in the mail today. Thanks for that. Excellent. Let's see. William Bill McLeod. Okay, this is what you wanted to say earlier. Early voting starts October 22nd. The last day to vote is November 6th. Don't wait. Vote October 22nd and vote Democrat. Folks, even Republicans are telling you to vote Democrat right now. All right, let's see. Michael, primaries before the general. There's still plenty of Democratic primaries happening August and September that we have to promote. Thank you for the link, folks. Michael Rudnin is a great follower of this show, and he's a great researcher on this show, and he always has some great links out there. Please go to them, use them. Very important. This guy does his work to help us all out, and he found some links with where things are happening. Thank you so kindly, Michael Rudnin. Pranav Joshi, thoughts on people on the left attacking current Congressman Beto? Here is the deal. Stop, my dear brothers and sisters, attacking Beto on whatever issue. We can be firm with Beto. We don't have to attack him on certain in certain modals that I've seen. Here is the deal with Beto. Beto is very calculating in the way he answers questions, so that when the general starts, they won't be able to get certain clips of him out of context. He'll still try, but he does his best to make sure that out of context clips that will convince others of other things aren't out there. Yesterday, I was watching him in Dallas, and the one thing I said is, my God, this guy's diction and more has so much improved. Beto is one of the good ones. Beto is progressive. I personally spoke to Beto when he came to Houston. And as far as when he doesn't come out and just say, I am going to vote for only single payer Medicare for all, it's okay. When he says, I am not just going to blanket say abolish ICE, that is okay. Remember, what we are wanting is outcomes, not symbols. We can have all kinds of symbols. If you don't change the outcomes of what occur, doesn't matter if it's called ICE or something else. And those, we have to know what battles are important to fight. I am not one of those who are going to bash Beto O'Rourke at all. I support Beto O'Rourke. And I think all progressives here in Texas, I mean, if you want, if you can go ahead and put the hammer on him. But when it comes to going to reporters and etc., you do not want to be in the modal where the other side can show democratic dissension on this man, because that's like a cancer. There are some weak-minded Democrats, just like weak-minded Republicans, who would take dissension as a reason not to vote for that candidate. Very important, folks, that we start to use our heads and not our hearts. And it's not about us. It's not about our own pride. It's about the totality. There's a whole lot of problem within the Democratic Party. Racial, gender, and otherwise. A whole lot of problems. I can look and I can say black women in Democratic leadership underrepresented, even though they are they are absolutely the most devoted group to the party. There are a lot of things I can bring up right now and say these are issues. What I'm saying right now is for the betterment of the party and the country right now. and I shouldn't even say for the party, for the betterment of the country, the people in the country who you love, the people in the country who you want to support. Right now, our focus and singular focus is to win. We have a lot of time to go out there and fight. And for those who say, well, if we go ahead and not hold them to the fire right now, no, once a politician gets in there, he doesn't want to leave. We have the thing that we didn't do with Obama is we didn't keep the pressure on. And when we did keep the pressure on, we did get results. Okay. Mike Cesek tells me that strategic means lie. We know many politicians lie because people are living a lie. Well, the second part of your story is correct, my dear brother. Many people are living a lie that was imposed to them by the Powell Manifesto and all the right-wing organizations that have created a false science in many areas, in how money flows, in how the environment works, in how climate works. Yeah, you're right. They're living a lie because they were taught a lie, a plausible lie, a plausible lie. That's what they were taught. Okay, Praniv Rodin. Michael Rodin. Praniv Rodin, do you have... Okay, that's a private conversation. Keeping Beto thinking about his position. Yes, we are going to keep Beto thinking about his positions. Absolutely. You can order mail-in ballot, transportation. Here you go. You can order mail-in ballots if you don't have transportation, folks. Thank you very much, Pranav. William Bill McLeod, I see your comments. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Michael Cesek says, how to tell which ideas are winning. See where people are willing to uproot where they live and move to somewhere else. False, but I can't get into that now because I don't have a whole lot more time. Jacobs Bocanegra, if you stay home again in November, we're moving on without you. We're in this mess because the what's in it for me mentality. Some people stayed home and didn't vote, and this is all their fault. That is true. I'm a little bit more careful in the way I say it, of course. All right, let's see. Michael Cesek, more and more people are tired of identity politics. Identity politics is a must. It is a must. Different identities are treated differently by the government. It's treated differently around by the social justice system. It's treated differently by the criminal justice system. It's treated differently by different folks. So there are different identities that require different solutions and different activities. I am tired, completely, my dear friends, tired of people saying, oh, you're playing identity politics, to which I say, yes, I am. I'm proud of it. Because until we become one identity, we will be playing identity politics until we become one identity. Okay, let's see. Enrique Romero. The ones fighting are not Democrats. They don't vote Democratic, and some seem to be attempting to break the coalition and even to push viable candidates to embrace fringe positions. Let's talk about that the next show because it's much deeper than that, my friend Enrique Romero. And thank you for being here. Okay, let's see. I'm going to have to close out the show. I don't see any other new... Reynaldo Anjos. No self-respecting minority should ever vote for Democrats. Oh, really? Reynaldo Anjos. We need to talk some other time. Folks, thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Let me first give one last pitch, and that's to say this is a progressive show that needs your support. I've already given you all the progressive products, programs that we support. I'm asking you to support Politics Done Right. It is imperative that you do, that we keep this alive, that we keep telling the truth alive, because there's so much misinformation out there. There's so many people giving you bad info. So we are here to make sure that doesn't go. Anyhow, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I'm going to end this, baby. I'm going to tell you, I am out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.